Okay, I'm here with Rick Rodriguez. He's been a carnivore for over 40 years. He only eats meat and eggs. Rick, thank you for joining me.
My pleasure.
So, this is very unusual. I've never met anyone who's a carnivore. I think a lot of people, this may be a new idea to them. So, can you kind of explain, if there's anything I'm leaving out? Is it just eating meat and eggs? Is that all it is?
I eat some dairy, and occasionally you'll catch me eating some fruit from my yard, but it's pretty rare.
Okay. So you started this as a kid?
I started as a teenager. I was 15 years old, and I was trying to be rebellious.
Uh-huh. Against your dad or?
Yeah, it's complicated because I was one of the skinniest and shortest kids, which is funny because I'm still the skinniest, but I'm not the shortest. I'm 6'6", but I
Wow.
only weigh 195 pounds. I've been the
Okay.
same height and weight since I was 25. But when I was a 15-year-old kid, I had been through junior high, which was extremely difficult for me. I got picked on a lot. And, yeah, elementary school, it was kind of an up and down. When I started elementary school, it wasn't so bad. Then third, fourth, fifth grade got really bad. Sixth grade was a little better. Then I got thrown into seventh grade and junior high. And basically, I became a target, constantly being harassed. And then as the other kids started to grow up and get bigger, I stayed small. I was short and skinny, so I was an easy target. And my grades were crap. I had about a C average, and I hated school, so I really hated my life. And then during the summer, I was helping my dad build a carport. I fell through the roof. There was a loose board. I landed on some metal sawhorses. I broke my left arm. Well,
Yikes.
it was like a fracture, didn't break all the way through. So here I am. It was July or August. I don't even remember exactly when it was, but it was a few weeks before school started. And I was just really upset because not only did I had to go to high school, but now I had a broken arm. It's like a bird with a broken wing or something. And I was just kind of desperate. And I thought, what can I do to avoid going to school? Because I was going to be delayed, probably a week, maybe 2 weeks because of the broken arm. So I thought, what if I could make myself get sick? Maybe I could catch the flu. Okay, well, I get that every so often. But what if I could eat something that would make me really just have problems? And I used to love watching TV back then. I watched a lot of Sanford and Son. If you've ever watched Fred Sanford, every time that he's stressed out, he always says, "Oh, this is the big one. I'm going to have a heart attack." And back then, what they used to tell us was what was bad for your heart? Eating a lot of meat, especially red meat. Red meat was very bad. And then eggs. Later on, they used to say that eating one egg was like smoking two cigarettes. So, red meat and eggs, anything with fat, lard, butter. They always had margarine. They're trying to give you the spread, what was it called? I can't believe it's not butter or whatever that commercial
Yeah,
was.
with Fabio.
With Fabio, yeah. And then they had parquet, they had the little thing up, butter, parquet. It was kind of tacky. And then they had Snackwell's cookies with the cookie lady. And every time the guy would leave his job, they'd be hiding behind him and trying to get the Snackwell cookies. Oh, what a delicious way to cut the fat. Although that I think came later, but it was a whole 80s thing. So
Yeah.
I thought
Replace
fat,
fat with sugar, right?
right, replace fat with sugar. Now, I'm one of the few kids that hated candy. I don't like anything sweet. It's a little quirk of mine. We would go to the buffet. We would go to like Sweden House Smorgasbord. That was my favorite place. And I would go there and they had the roast beef. I would love that. We didn't get a lot of beef at home because, well, number one, we're a poor family. And two, my dad was really into the whole health thing. He was a big fan of Jack LaLanne. You probably
Mm.
remember Jack LaLanne with his
Fitness guy.
exercise and eating a lot of plants. And my dad believed that whole grains and healthy vegetables, that was the foundation of a good diet. And I hate vegetables. I really hate vegetables. They taste like grass. I used to say I might as well just eat grass. This stuff is nasty. And I was like, man, I'm going to do something about this. So I looked in the refrigerator and I said, well, we got some ground meat and I thought if I could get my hands on more fatty meat, it was the cheapest stuff back then. When my dad did buy beef, which wasn't very often, he would have them cut all the fat off and then grind the meat. Well, I discovered that the Grand Union down the street, you could get it really cheap. And plus, they would throw away a lot of the fat. And then I got a hand meat grinder. So I started making my own ground beef, loaded with fat. And I got my hands on some butter. I got my hands on, the full fat sour cream, whatever I could get my hands on. The most unhealthy food that I could come up with, because I figured if I did that, now again, I was a teenager, so what was I thinking? I didn't realize it would take decades to get heart disease. But at the very least, I could maybe fake it. I could tell my friends, or my parents, oh, I feel like chest pains or whatever, thinking that that would work. But of course, that was just ridiculous because, again, I was a 15-year-old kid. Even if I would have eaten garbage, I probably would have been healthy.
But you were
But
dedicated, man. You're ready to take a heart attack so you don't have to go to school.
exactly, because I hated school so much. But the strange thing was, yeah, I was delayed about a week, maybe 2 weeks. I don't remember exactly. I remember having to start school a little bit late and then having to try to catch up. But of course, it was high school. There was nothing really that complicated back then. But what I do remember, and again, they had a 40-year reunion for our high school, which I wasn't invited to. I guess nobody remembers me. But I was thinking about high school. I actually had a couple of dreams about when I was in high school. So I was kind of rehashing this mental process. And when I started school, my grade average was kind of low. But once I got into high school, the interesting thing was I started to learn better than I did. Now, I've been eating what I call the heart attack diet for maybe 3 or 4 weeks before I started high school. And when I went into school, I was still under anxiety because I figured I'd get picked on. And I did get picked on a little bit. Some of the kids that I knew from junior high were a bit of a problem. But it wasn't that long that my attitude changed and I really didn't care. I used to worry about what other people think and I didn't care. So what I started doing to really scare everybody off, because the kids used to spit in my food in the cafeteria and throw things around. So I started bringing raw meat to the cafeteria. Yeah. So I thought I would get raw meat, mix it with ice, put it in a package so it wouldn't rot, and I'd take it to the cafeteria. And I was eating raw steak and, you know, and raw liver. That because on the TV, we used to have a show called The Dukes of Hazzard. And we had Boss Hogg, who was a big fat guy that wore a white suit, and he would eat raw liver. That was the only thing nobody else would eat because every time Sheriff Roscoe wanted to get some of his food, he'd hit his hand. But he would always offer him the raw liver. So I brought raw liver to school and I brought raw meat. And I'd sit there and eat this stuff. And when the other kids were trying to harass me, they'd look at that and they'd just walk away. They're like, this guy's nuts. So I could sit in the cafeteria at the table. Nobody would get around me. Everyone was grossed out. And it was just fun because now I had the power. I could do what I want and nobody would bother me. It wasn't like junior high where I got picked on constantly. And they looked at me like us, maybe from the Addams family or something, like Lurch, you rang, or. So that's what happened. And
I like
as
the way you think, man. You'll take the heart attack to get out of school. You're thinking outside the box here. You're going to bring raw meat and eat it to scare the kids so they won't pick on you.
Yep.
You're one of a kind.
And it worked really well. The funny thing was, I started doing this. Oh, that phone. Now you can ignore it.
It's an old
That's
timey
just one of
phone.
my customers calling me. Wish I could disconnect that thing. The problem is it's wired into the wall.
Wow.
Anyways,
Again, so yeah, you're like a classic. I don't know, unusual.
I
I
am
saw you had a
definitely.
video of a payphone in your yard too, like a working payphone.
I have a payphone in the front yard, the backyard. I have one in my shop, and I have two in the bedroom. So I have 4 payphones around the house.
You have two payphones in your bedroom?
Yes. I have one that's up by where the bed is, and I have another one by the entrance. It's,
Why?
well, believe it or not, many years ago, one of the jobs that I had was installing payphones. I worked with a guy that did construction, and then a friend of his started a payphone business. So he ended up wanting to have the payphones installed, and then I got into that. And then later on, of course, payphones became obsolete. So what I ended up doing, I started trying to collect as many as I could when they were being taken out. So that's why I have so many payphones.
Wow.
I wonder if I can shut this thing off.
You can
I guess I
answer
could.
it.
No, I'm not going to answer it. I could turn my phone system off.
I want to talk to your friend.
Oh yeah, well, I have a tie-in when I do my live stream. I usually have a tie-in. It would be kind of interesting. I wish my parents would still be alive because they could tell some of the stories about me when I was younger. And again, like you said, I think outside the box because growing up, I was always trying to fit in, but it was very frustrating because every time I tried to fit in, I didn't live up to their standards and I'd be the laughing stock of everybody. I was a kid nobody picked for any sports. I was a kid that was like the joke. So I thought, well, when I got to high school, I might as well take advantage of it. If people are going to give me that much attention to try to make fun of me, I might as well make a joke out of it. Why
Sure.
not?
Yeah. Capitalize on it.
Yep. But the
Um,
funny thing is, the diet actually had more of an effect than I thought it would because number one, I started to grow and I grew a lot. I was one of the shortest kids when I started 10th grade. When I graduated, I was, I think, the second or the tallest.
wow.
My grade point average, the first quarter of high school wasn't great, but it was improving. By the end of 10th grade, I had basically almost straight A's, which I
Jeez.
also had in 11th and 12th grade.
Huh. How tall was your dad?
5'9".
Okay. Wow. And did your mom come from a tall family, or is this?
Now, nobody in either side of the family has been more than 6 feet tall.
And you're 6'6".
I'm 6'6". I sent a picture of me when I went to Hack Your Health with Shawn Baker, who you know is 6'5". So anyone
Yeah.
that doubts my height, because I don't look that tall, I look like a little guy here, but I am definitely tall.
Man. Okay. So tell us what you're actually eating then in a typical day. Is it just red meat, like day in and day out?
I used to eat a lot more red meat than I do now, but because of the increased price of beef, I only may eat 2 pounds of red meat a week. I used to eat 2 pounds a day of red meat. In fact, I developed what I call the heart attack burger long before the heart attack grill ever came into existence. And of course, they've gone out of business. But my heart attack burger was 2 pounds of red meat, along with the world's most unhealthy buns, which were made out of pork rinds, eggs, and cheese. Three of the I mean, pork rinds, you know, those things, they're deadly.
Why don't you
Whenever
throw some
somebody,
bacon on there too and some lard?
well, there is bacon on the heart attack burger. There's
Okay.
a video with my friend Amy, and there's a couple other videos with my friends on YouTube where they created Rick's heart attack burger. And again, I haven't eaten one in a long time because of the high cost of beef, but it was a beast. And I would eat that thing for lunch. So think about it, a pound of bacon, 2 pounds of beef, those massive buns, 8 slices of cheese, all stacked in a burger that's like this high. And I would devour that beast and then go back to work afterwards.
Just the bacon itself is a pound?
Yeah,
That's a
that's
lot.
a whole package of bacon.
Yeah. Okay. And you could operate fine after that. Like you weren't drowsy or
Nope, I don't get drowsy. The only time I get drowsy is at nighttime. Generally, what'll happen to me after 7, 8 o'clock, because I usually finish dinner before 8. And then after that, it's like slow down time. I will start to fall asleep. Sometimes I'll go on a live stream a little later and I'm just falling asleep. And occasionally when it's really hot, like it's been now, I will get drowsy. But
okay, but so that was kind of an outlier food item. But what do you eat typically? I mean, are you
well, a good example like today, I got up this morning, I had 6 eggs and I had 2 pounds of pork. So that was my breakfast. For lunch, I had heart attack chicken. Heart attack chicken is about 4 to 5 pounds of chicken legs, thighs, or leg quarters cooked in pure lard. So that was my lunch. And then for dinner, I'm not sure, I may have an iguana or I'm not sure what I'm going to have, but
now?
uh,
I'm familiar with your iguana eating. I've heard of this, but fill us in. Iguana. This is first of all, where do you get it? What does it taste like? And is this okay?
iguana is a big lizard. And what it is, they were pets for many years and they escaped. They got into the wild and they began to breed. Now they're invasive. So there is no regulation on hunting them. You can catch and kill them any time of the year. In fact, it's encouraged. They dig holes, they eat people's plants, and they poop everywhere. So they are a big problem. In the wintertime, sometimes when it gets cool enough, they will freeze up and fall out of the trees. And that's the best time to get them. You can ride around with your bike or your car, pick up a boatload of them, and then stick them in the freezer. I did that earlier this year, and they'll freeze for months and still be good. They taste somewhere between fish and chicken. Depends on how old they are, where they were, what they ate, and the location. And most of the time, I would compare the taste to something like snapper when they taste like fish. When they taste like chicken, it's more like the legs are more chicken like. They tend to be like dark meat chicken. The tail, it's not like white meat chicken. I would say the tail is a lot like chicken thighs or something like that. But normally I'll just boil them up or I'll deep fry them in beef tallow or lard, and they are very delicious.
Okay. What happens if you have a piece of fruit?
It depends. I'm allergic to some fruits. There are some fruits I cannot eat. For example, avocados. I have a big avocado tree. Avocados will give me nausea. I can't stand the taste of them, and I will throw up. I've tried to eat it, especially when I was younger, and I always throw up. Apples, they make my mouth burn and itch, and they give me terrible digestive problems. Same thing with peaches and pears. I can't eat them at all.
Was it always like this, or is this something that developed after years of carnivore?
Pretty much always like that. Now, there are fruits that I can't eat. I can eat any citrus fruit, doesn't bother me. Oranges, grapefruit, whatever. I can eat bananas. I got a yard full of bananas. I generally don't eat them, but I can eat them. They don't bother me. I can eat mangoes. I rarely eat them. They don't bother me. I can eat watermelon, but only the watermelons that I grow. The ones in the store, they're disgusting and they give me gas. Those seedless things, they're horrible. I can eat loquats. I can eat the little Suriname cherries. I can eat cocoa plums. I can eat the little palmetto berries. I actually like those things, but most people think they're disgusting. That fruit has actually been used as a prostate supplement. You're probably familiar with saw palmetto.
I've
They
heard. So you can eat these things, but you choose not to like 99% of the time.
Yeah. Well, I have a rule when it comes to produce like fruit. I won't eat it if I can't pick it. So if it's in my yard and I don't have anything else to eat, I'll eat it because it's better than starving. But I'm not going to buy them from the store. And there's also a principle because I really don't like the way that most fruits and vegetables are grown around the world. They use low paid labor and they're shipped using a lot of fuel and there's a lot of exploitation. It's like bananas. I vowed never to buy a banana from the store because I didn't want to support a banana republic. That's why I started growing bananas. My yard is full of bananas. Every time you walk out there, there's bananas all over the place. And I give them to my friends. In fact, my friend, she just asked me today if I had any bananas. I said, no, but I'll probably be ready next week. I will give them away because I'd rather that they get them from here than to have them shipped from somewhere in Central and South America. And besides, there's fungus diseases that are destroying the banana plantations around the world. Anytime that you have a commodity crop, a monoculture, and you ship it long distances, it's only a matter of time before disease destroys it. It's like what happened to the citrus industry here in Florida. You clone the same thing, you plant the same plant again and again and again, and eventually disease gets it. Now, if you're picking something in the wild, there's really not a lot that you can eat from the wild that would sustain your life. It'd be very difficult. If you were on a deserted island and you lived on only fruit, you probably wouldn't last long. You'd have to go out there and go fishing or get some of the animals because these things are seasonal. So even if I did eat fruit from the yard, if I ate a few mangoes, that's 2 weeks out of the year. The rest of the year, there's no mangoes. That's kind of how the whole fruit thing works.
So how do you navigate daily life, socially? I mean, dating and just going to parties or having people over. How does that work?
Well, number one, I don't date. I gave up on that a long time ago. The quality of women here is terrible. In fact, the way Miami is, I mean, I don't think anyone is really looking for any kind of long term relationship. Everyone's looking for something quick. And usually it comes down to this. If you have this, they like you. If you don't, they don't care. So I don't date. I do have friends. We do sometimes eat together. Usually on Monday night, we have a group that gets together. We have a barbecue either here or at my friend's place. I've never had a problem because there's plenty of meat. And I bring fruits and some vegetables. I can even make foods that use fruits and vegetables. And I do use fermented cabbage from time to time and fermented banana flour. So that is a vegetable that I technically eat occasionally. But I do make my pacemaker pizza, which is a carnivore based pizza. And I do have tiny little tomatoes that I can use to make fermented tomato sauce and put on that pizza. And they're, it's not really a problem because everybody knows that I only eat meat. I don't eat bread. Anything that's made from seeds, I avoid. So that includes vegetable oil, bread, crackers, anything made from seeds. Don't eat it. Corn, I don't eat corn. Rice, no rice. I avoid anything from seeds. And if you know, processed rice, for example, they strip away the outside of it. So really, most of what's in a seed is considered to be inedible. My parents used to give me brown rice, and I always would get stomach issues, and then I'd get these little pieces that would come out the other end. It was totally, totally disgusting. So I just avoid all that.
Yeah, I started experimenting actually for the last few days, and the last meal I had was rice with chicken, like a big thing of rice, which basically just turns into sugar in your body. And after that meal, it was rice and fish actually. And after that meal, I remember I was feeling tired. And so the next few meals were just protein based. This is, after we started talking about your slow cooked ground beef with eggs, I made that next. Ate this entire 21-ounce ground beef with 6 eggs in one sitting. And then I felt fine. I was like, I had energy. I was kind of surprised. Um, and then the next couple meals have all been just chicken in one sitting. And then I did another beef and eggs. And yeah, I mean, it's a lot of protein and a lot of fat. And surprisingly, it's just like cutting out the carbs like that. I thought I would be hungry. I thought I would be irritable and tired, and not at all. So I think I'm going to keep going with it a little bit and see what happens because I'm dealing with like gut issues too. So,
Really?
hmm
I know
yep,
you, in one of your videos, you mentioned you had serious back issues, which most people I know do.
I
I,
did. It's pretty good right now, but I'm very careful with it still. Like I'm not squatting and deadlifting heavy, and I think it's just a result of systemic inflammation that may be rooted in the gut with SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, and leaky gut. So I'm actually interviewing a functional medicine doctor later today. That'll be coming out soon, and we're going to talk about that type of stuff as well. But it's just something I've experimented with treating the gut over the years, but I've never gone and cut out carbs to this extent. As part of the protocol for SIBO and leaky gut, they have something called the FODMAPs diet, and
mm-hmm,
that's you cut out the easily fermentable vegetables and fruits, and of course sugar and that sort of thing, the stuff that would feed the bacteria.
mm-hmm.
So I started doing that a little bit. The white rice was still acceptable for that. And then I'm like, well, I may as well see what happens if I just get rid of all this carbs. Because you think about the typical American diet is very carb heavy. I mean, you look at people's plates or their grocery cart, it's all carbs, it's all sugar. And also in my test results for the TRT video, it showed like a slightly elevated glucose, which is
Mm-hmm.
like pre-diabetic. So I'm like, you know what? Let me just see what happens if I cut this out entirely. So this could be, a new lifestyle for me. I might get a couple old phones and payphones in here as well. Maybe some lizards.
That's funny. I always thought that I would scare people away because I always see myself as Lurch from the Addams Family. People would take a look at me and they're like, I don't want anything to do with this guy. And I see that it happens. I've had people tell me they go to my channel and they're scared. This guy eats lizards. Oh, I also eat ducks. We have these Muscovy ducks that are invasive, and I will fatten them up and eat them because I love duck. Duck is delicious.
I just tried it for the first time in Montreal. I had duck confit. It was good.
It's good. It's good.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny because you know you you are basically what most guys would want to look like. You have a fantastic body. You got a good voice. You look amazing. I would say you're either a 9 out of 10 or a 9.5 out of 10.
Well, I'm going to have you back on. I think this is going really well.
No, really. I mean, no, I look at people in their 40s and it really bothers me because they keep saying, well, I'm getting old, and they got the stomach sticking out. I mean, look, I don't care if a person has extra fat, but when your stomach sticks out and you have toothpick arms, if you're like me and you have toothpick arms like this, you should have a flat belly. You shouldn't have a stomach sticking out. You look like something from, I don't know, it's terrible. And I'm guilty. I judge people by the way they look. When I go to the store, I look at what they're buying and I look at their physique. And when I see that they're unhealthy looking, and what really gets me is when they're breathing hard. They can't talk very long without breathing hard or just walking. And I've seen people on YouTube, they make a video walking and they're breathing hard. I make videos all the time walking and riding my bike, and I never breathe hard. I work all day. I was working on a fence yesterday in 96-degree heat, and no big deal,
How
it's
old
not
are
a
you?
problem. Huh?
How old are you?
58. I'm 58.
And you don't, I mean, you look like you could be like late 30s. I mean, that's
Yeah,
incredible.
that's true. I mean, the lighting here is terrible, but if you've seen pictures of me where the lighting is a little better, I don't look too bad. And I've got like, I've had some accidents. I've had car accidents. I've had a tree fall on me. I've had all kinds of mishaps over the years. So I got a few distortions here and there. I have a genetic sinus condition. But other than that, I've never had back pain, knee pain, in my joints. Everything moves smoothly, quickly. I can stretch. I have no problems. Nothing hurts. It's
I'm 50
crazy.
and I'm fabulous.
Yeah, right? You remember that? And I'll be 60 in a couple of years. There you go. But the thing is, like most guys, they look at me, they're like, okay, that's an outlier. But if they look at you, I mean, you're a personal trainer, obviously. And I think you said you were in the theater or something like that.
Actor, yeah. That's, yeah. So this channel kind of combines both of those things, like the performance and comedy background with the personal training, health, and fitness, because both of them are a big part of my life.
That's why I
Yeah.
think that you're going to be a success on YouTube. I think that by the end of the year, I mean, you'll at least have 5,000 subscribers, and who knows? Now, YouTube is a lot more competitive than it used to be, but out of all the people I've met, I think you're the one that's going to succeed pretty quickly.
Well, thank you very much. It's been fun so far, and I really appreciate you doing this. So, can you talk a little bit about, like, has anything changed in this space since you started 40 years ago? I mean, and what, like, has the science caught up to it? I know we mentioned that it's been meat and fat were demonized for so many years. Um, what's changed, and what would you do differently now?
Well, what I should have done a long time ago, when I first started on YouTube in 2007, I should have recognized that my carnivore diet was actually a health promoting diet because until 2020, I still believed that I was digging my own grave one spoonful at a time. I figured with all the meat and fat, I mean, I've eaten a lot of fatty meat, a lot of eggs. I was eating a dozen eggs a day for years. I went way off the deep end because I remember my dad told me sometime in the 90s, did you know that? And that was where the saying came from, that if you ate one egg, it was like smoking two cigarettes. So I thought, well, I better eat a carton a day then. So I started eating 12 eggs a day. And then, red meat causes cancer. Well, cancer runs in my family. So I thought, well, if I'm going to get cancer anyway, I might as well go out in style and eat more red meat. So I made sure that I had red meat every single day. But what I've noticed lately is that since about 2020, and I credit this to a couple of people. I mean, one of them, believe it or not, was Paul Saladino, although he's fallen off the carnivore diet. But the very first person that I would attribute to the carnivore diet is Dr. Shawn Baker, because he was the one that wrote the book, and I think he called it The Carnivore Diet. I was not aware of that until 2020. I was taking care of my mother. I mean, she was been sick for years, but she became basically 24-hour care in 2018. And I had more time to go online. I began to see him, Saladino, a couple other people. There was Butter Bob. They were talking about the low carbohydrate and carnivore diet. Now, I had heard about an Atkins diet, but I never really thought of that as the same as my diet because the Atkins diet did seem to include some fruits and vegetables, and mine was all about high fat, heart attack, that kind of thing. And of course, the Heart Attack Grill, when it opened, I think it was in 2005, and that was on the news. I remember talking about with my dad. He was watching Nightline. He says, Rick, you got to see this. And the guy was making these big burgers. And I looked at that. I said, okay. But again, until 2020, I really believed that my carnivore diet was the heart attack diet and that it was going to end my life. I was told, and my last doctor visit was in 96, and I got mad at my doctor because he was fat and he was breathing hard. And again, I'm guilty of being prejudiced. If my doctor would have looked like you and he would have given me advice, I may have considered it. But with the big stomach sticking out and the neck that's all full of fat and couldn't even breathe, and he's telling me that my cholesterol is too high and that I'm going to get heart disease by
And you
my
should take a
50s.
pill, right? Got to take a
Well,
drug.
yeah, they're talking about you need to lower your cholesterol. Like, why do I want to lower my cholesterol? I'm looking for a heart attack. So when he told me I was going to have a heart attack, I said, good. And then I even got mad. I don't remember exactly what I said. I said, I would rather have a heart attack being skinny like me than looking like you.
Oh,
And
snap.
that's when things went downhill quick. And my doctor lost his temper. I don't think I've ever seen a medical professional get so mad. And he told me to leave, and I told him I will never come back.
He said,
Ever.
turn your head and cough. Bend over.
There you go.
So have you been to a doctor since then?
No, my last doctor visit was in 96. I was 28 years old.
Wow. 96. So 30 years.
Yeah, 30 years.
And
My
you
last
haven't.
my last dental visit was in 86.
Wow. Yeah. You don't like dentists for the same reason or what?
Well, I don't like dentists because number one, they cost a lot of money. And we had a dental plan that ran out when I was 18. So before I turned 18, had to go there. And then they do this teeth cleaning or whatever, which hurts. And then it doesn't really do any good because, when I was a kid, it will always get crudted up again and you got to brush your teeth. And I'm not a big fan of brushing my teeth. In fact, I ditched the toothpaste and I started using baking soda and lard to brush my teeth. Now I got
Really?
I got a broken tooth here from junior high when I got in a fight and the dentist had fixed it. It fell out a couple years after they did it. It must have been 82. I'm trying to remember, maybe 80 or 81, the first time it got broken. And then I think it was in 83 or 84, they fixed it again when I was in high school. It fell out when I turned 30. But the last time I went to the dentist was 86. It was in the dental office down the street. And I didn't see the point of it because I used to get cavities when I was a kid, but I'm like, well, if I get a cavity, I'll find a way to fix it myself. But I never got one since.
You haven't had a cavity your whole adult life. I mean, you're not eating any sugar. You're not eating basically no carbs. And you're brushing your teeth with baking soda and lard.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay. And no blood work done. You haven't been tested for.
I don't even know my blood type. That's how bad it is.
Yeah. What about your wisdom teeth? Did you get those taken out?
That was funny you mentioned that because my teeth are crooked and the upper teeth were also crooked. Look at how bad the lower ones are.
Oh yeah.
Now, when my parents had a little bit of money, there was an orthodontist on the other side of the neighborhood. They wanted to do the braces. But in order to do the braces, they said they would have to pull out teeth to make room for these teeth and the same thing in the top. And they said when the wisdom teeth came in, that they would have to come out. But I was like, no, I'd rather have crooked teeth because, again, I was to the point where I don't care anymore. So when they told me that, I thought, well, I'm just going to live with the crooked teeth. If they fall out, they fall out. And I never had the wisdom teeth pulled out. They grew in. The upper teeth actually straightened out. The lower ones didn't. But the wisdom teeth. They grew in without a problem.
That's what I heard. That we used to eat a lot more meat back in the day, and people weren't getting their wisdom teeth taken out, and everything was fine. And they weren't. Nothing
Hmm.
was compacted or anything. Huh. Do you have any haters?
Oh, of course. I have several. I get trolls every now and then. There was a vegan that used to hate me, but the vegans seem to have disappeared. The haters come and the haters go. I'm such a whack. I think a lot of times I'm not the target. You don't see any of the major YouTube channels go after me because they figure I'm just on the fringe. They're not going to bother.
And what is it about mostly? Is it just like from the vegans, like the ethical reasons, or
I've had that. I've had people tell me that I look unhealthy. I get that a lot from some of the comments. Oh, you look unhealthy. Yeah, I may look unhealthy, but if you've seen me work, you know that I am not unhealthy. I am constantly on the move.
I mean, I think you look 20 years younger. You have no gray hair. You have full head of hair, plenty of energy. Skin looks good. I mean, you have your mind is working great.
It's really funny because none of the people that criticize me on the internet ever have a video or they ever have a way to respond to them. They just make these silly comments and then their profile is blank. So I've never actually had a one-to-one criticism. Now in person, I have a vegan friend and her son, he's into the raw vegan thing. And he one time he wanted to take me down because he was into wrestling. So he tried to get a hold of me, but the thing is, I have really good reaction time. And as soon as he grabbed me, I grabbed onto him. Next thing you know, I had him on the floor. I had him pinned down, and he was like in total shock. What just happened? He's
So
like,
you
oh,
took down a wrestler.
yeah, basically a vegan wrestler. And the
Well,
thing is, he had to admit, your friend Rick is really strong. He didn't think so because I'm skinny. They figure skinny guy, I'm just a nobody. But as soon as he grabbed, I got him. I was like, psh, and I had him on the ground. I'm
wow.
thinking, okay,
You know how to sell this to me. I'll tell you. Taking down wrestlers. Granted, a vegan wrestler, but
yeah, vegan. But then the other thing is another friend of mine, he grew up in a vegetarian family and he was vegan and his health broke down to the point where he just couldn't go on. They were talking about taking out part of his intestines. They were going to take out part of his colon because it was so inflamed. He had he called it I think he called it colitis or something like that. He used to get diarrhea with blood and all kinds of stuff. And he was like really desperate. So what they were going to do, I think they call it dissection or resection. I don't know, it's some kind of medical term. Basically, they're going to cut him open and take part of his colon out. And I said, you know what? If you got to go through that, why don't you try the heart attack diet for a little bit? See if it helps. But I hate meat. I'm like, well, you don't have to eat red meat. You could eat chicken. Just make sure that you cook it in fat, real fat, not that vegetable oil crap. And we started talking about it. So he went to the carnivore diet. It helped, but he wasn't doing so good on the carnivore diet. So I said, well, add some of the fruits and vegetables back that don't bother you. So he added some cauliflower and added some other. I think he may have added rice. It's hard to remember, but he found a balance. So I think 50% of his diet is carnivore. The other 50% is plant material. Not only did the digestive problems gradually go away, but also the problems in the bedroom, they disappeared because his vegan girlfriend, obviously, I guess things weren't going so well because his, let's just say, prowess went away. I guess when you're sick all the time, it's kind of hard to get excited about that. But it came back, and it came back so strong that his girlfriend started complaining to me that there's just too much going on there. I'm like, it's not my fault. Well, you're the one that told him what to eat. Like, no, I just suggested trying it. So there was kind of a drawback, and that's not even a full carnivore diet. It's what I would call a meat-based keto diet. So he's still eating some vegetables and the occasional fruit, but doing great. And little by little, he's increasing the amount of meat. He says eventually he's going to try to go full carnivore. But for now, the plant material is not hurting. And then the only bad thing is it went from zero in the bedroom to being, I guess, a little excessive. So there's a little bit of friction there. I said,
she's going to have
well,
to learn how to wrestle.
there you go. Or just get his girlfriend to start eating meat. That'd be the trick. but
Yeah.
she's a hardcore vegan, for the animal rights or whatever. And I've had many discussions with my vegan friends about so-called animal rights, trying to explain to them that there is no such thing as animal rights in the wild. Wild animals are food and they're constantly in danger. There's a reason why our pets live longer than wild animals. Being a cow in a cow pasture is a lot less stressful than being a deer out in the woods.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. The issue comes when it's factory farmed and they're living in horrid conditions and pumped full of antibiotics and fed garbage. Um, how do you get mostly like wild game, or how do you
I
avoid the?
I get a combination. I do have to eat the store bought stuff because it's all I have. But when I can catch a duck or an iguana or something local, I'll get it. Or if I can go shrimping, I try to get as much of the wild food that I can. But you got to buy the store bought stuff. I can't afford the fancy pants, grass fed, grass finished beef. So I just have to get what I can get in the store. But I'm hoping eventually when I move out of here and I live in the country, I'll be able to get the entire animal and I'll do my own meat processing at home, which I don't have a problem with. I know some people, they get all squeamish about it, but I mean, I've eaten squirrel. That's another meat. When the avocados are out and the squirrels are eating the avocados, I break out the BB gun and I go squirrel shooting, and I'll skin them and fry them, and they're delicious.
I used to do that as a kid just for fun. I never ate them, but
Mm.
yeah, I used to pick off birds and squirrels in the yard with the BB gun until I one day I did it, and my dad was working in the garden, and I shot one right there by the garden, went down and looked at it, and I felt bad. Like I looked into its eyes, and that kind of put an end to that hobby. But because my dad was like, "Well, guess you have to bury it now." It's
Well,
like,
see, I don't shoot something unless I'm going to cook it. That's kind of my rule. So the squirrels, I don't bother them until avocado or mango season when they start eating the fruit, because then my vegan friends and my other friends, nobody wants to get a piece of fruit with gnaw marks all over it. And the squirrels, they don't eat the whole thing. It's not like they all take one mango and eat it. No, they eat a little piece of this one and a little piece of that one and a little piece of that one. Pretty soon, everyone is ruined because the little squirrels, they don't have enough brain power to say, hey, I'll just eat one whole fruit. But so it's okay, fine. I go out there and I got my scope. I go out there at night if I have to, or whenever they're out and about, and and you get them, and then I get them, and they're very easy to skin. You just cut it around the tail and pull the skin off, and you got yourself some really delicious meat.
and where's your squirrel fur sachet or whatever?
Well, I haven't saved it. Maybe I should. What I was going to do, though, I was going to use iguana skins to reupholster my bicycle seat because my bicycle seats always fall apart. So I thought about making one with an iguana skin.
Oh, that'd be badass. Yeah, you could do like jewelry, and you could do like I mean, you could make a whole thing out of iguana skin.
Exactly. And the thing is, a lot of people complain about the invasive ducks and iguanas, but they don't have a solution for it. And our neighborhood was being overrun with iguanas. They were eating everything, every hibiscus flower, every fruit. The first time I killed an iguanas, they were eating the papayas. I was growing papayas for my dad, and they were eating the little papayas off the papaya plants. So I got to get rid of these things. And I remember the first time I got an iguana, I used a rock to try to knock it out of the tree. And I'm good at aim. And I started throwing it and boom, and I hit it on the head and it fell down on the ground. I went to throw it away and I picked it up and I looked at it. I go, hmm, it's got legs, it's got a tail. I wonder if it's edible. And then I cut the tail and legs off and cooked it up, and it was delicious. And that was like 2001. So I didn't realize that iguana was edible until back then. And then after that, every time I saw an iguana in the garden, I wasn't mad. I was happy. It's like, oh, I can get that. It's delicious.
Is your cat ever afraid of you?
No, my cat loves me. Sometimes he attacks me.
It's
This isn't
got,
a Chinese restaurant.
but it's got a tail. It's got legs.
Yeah, but it's a carnivore. So it's not it's not on the
Oh,
menu.
you
And
guys understand each other.
yeah, exactly. That's my little buddy, my little black menace. And I got a couple of cats outside. There's a couple of kittens I've been feeding. So the cats, they're friendly. Um, And it's not like Korea where they like to cook dogs. So the pets are safe around here.
Would you try a dog?
I don't know. Probably not. I mean, seeing what they eat and all the medicines that they're on, I don't think I would. I'd have to be pretty desperate to eat dog.
What if I dared you?
I don't know.
I'd feel bad doing it.
Yeah, I
But
figured.
I guess it's meat. It's meat. Meat is meat.
It is meat, but again, it's like gator meat. I don't really like to eat gator because they tend to concentrate heavy metals like mercury and lead because they're predators. The iguanas, they eat basically plant material, and it's like I tell my vegan friends, I only eat vegans. And they're like, "Okay." Yeah, but they have to have a tail. Unless you have a tail, you're safe.
You're going to have a lot more haters after this interview.
Oh, I'm sure, but that's the whole idea.
I only eat vegans.
That's right. Vegans with tails.
Yeah. I tried the vegan thing for a minute. Yeah,
I did too.
you did. Tell
In
me about that.
93, I actually tried to go plant-based and it destroyed me. I never had been so sick in my life. I got the worst flu of my life. I was throwing up. I couldn't do anything. I was in bed for days. It was horrible. I've never felt so bad in my entire life. And even when I got off the plant-based, I still have bouts of diarrhea for months after that. That thing was destroying me from the inside out.
Why do you think that is?
I think a lot of it is because of all the juices and the raw plant material. My dad was very much into that. I mean, if you think about it, plants have a lot of defense chemicals. Most of the plants that we eat are prepared in a certain way. They can be fermented or cooked, or they strip away certain parts of the plant that's not edible. When you're taking leaves and stems and all these plant parts and grinding them up, you're just making a chemical cocktail. And in my case, it was terrible. I don't know how my dad could do the juice. He had flax seeds and spinach and just nasty vegetables. He was even eating seaweed, believe it or not. My dad used to think that eating seaweed was good for you.
I put that in my smoothies, the Atlantic dulse, little flakes.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
They say it's good for detoxing heavy metals too.
It
Uh,
might be, but for me, it was terrible. And again, I made a resolution at the beginning of 93 that I was going to try plant-based because I kept hearing it. You're going to get cancer. And I didn't want to get cancer. I know people that have had cancer. I thought, okay, when the heart attack, I'm not worried about because that's quick. You go, oh, and then you fall over. But the whole cancer thing, I wasn't really that crazy about it. But
well, that's funny because they say there's a correlation with meat and processed meats with colorectal cancer, um, but there's no concern of that for you.
nope, I don't
Yeah.
eat that much processed meat. I mean, I eat bacon occasionally, but most of the meat that I eat is just pieces of meat that I cook up myself. And I don't even, I don't barbecue that often. Most of the meat I cooked is stewed or boiled, sometimes roasted. I'm not really into the whole searing the meat. I'll eat it raw if it's safe. And I think in many ways that may be a difference. I don't eat, processed meat, occasional bacon, that's about it. And I've never had a problem. But the thing is, when I went plant based, I had so much diarrhea that my intestines, I had a lot of gas. That was the other thing. It was horrible. You're trying to go. I remember one time had to go to court for a traffic ticket and I got in that elevator and I had all this gas and it kept stopping on every floor. And somewhere in there, I had to let the gas out. The next floor, everybody was leaving the elevator because it was that bad. It was so bad, I felt like I was going to pass out. And again, I'm taller than everybody. So I didn't get it until it was bad. And it was one of those silent but deadly. So it was terrible. I used to hate it. I mean, it's just everywhere you go, you feel that pressure. And it's like, I got to find a way to get rid of this pressure. And then next thing you know, you get an embarrassing noise and everyone looks at you like, hmm. But when you're on the
Yeah.
carnivore diet, you don't have that problem.
Yeah. Well, um, yeah, like I said, the last couple of days, I feel pretty good, and yeah, less gas and more energy. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
it's a placebo effect, but hey, I'll take that as well. Um, and now you mentioned that you're on a budget, and most people would think that this type of eating would be quite expensive. how do you, or do you just go to Costco to get this? If you're not eating iguana or duck from your yard, uh, how do you manage it?
Costco is too far away, and most of my travel is by bicycle since the cost of diesel is so high and my truck is broken. Now, I converted my truck to run on seed oils.
Is it a
My
Model
old truck,
T?
no, it's a Ford. It's a 1990 F-250. I also have a 98 van. I had 69 Dodge Chargers, but they're all rusty, so I don't drive them right now, but they run on gasoline. My old truck was a 69 Dodge. I converted to run on wood, so I had a wood gas producer in the back of the truck. It looked like a chemistry set on wheels, which is another reason I think people avoided me.
You
I,
converted a truck to run on wood.
yeah.
That's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you hear these stories about guys that like made a car run on water and then they get disappeared or something because the big industries don't want them around.
Well, the thing is, most of the people that say they can run their car on water are scammers. So I think they get disappeared because they cheat somebody and then they just want to get rid of them because it's impossible. The laws of thermodynamics, you can't run a car on water because the energy of the reaction is already out of it. But you can run a car on anything that burns. Waste plastic, I've turned that into diesel. Wood, paper, anything that is flammable can be turned into a gas and put into an engine to run it. That's not that's not a scam. That's reality. Now it's a pain in the neck because you have to separate out materials. You got to make sure they're dry because it takes so much energy to dry water out of a flammable material. You want it to be dry before you put it into the gasifier. But there are things out there, and again, there's technologies, but there's a lot of scammers. And here's the way I tell people to recognize the difference with anything, whether it's energy, diet, whatever hack that a person has. If they're not willing to share how it works, it's a scam. That's Rick's rule when it comes to all these things. So if they have some special device that's going to revolutionize the industry and they don't tell you how it works, they are a scammer every single time.
Oh, I'm glad I met you because I want you on my survival team for the apocalypse. I mean, you're
There
making
you go.
cars that run out of wood and you're hunting and it'd be a good addition.
Well, that's another thing. I'm into sustainable living. I generate zero waste. I compost everything that I don't need, and the rest of it I was using to make energy. So I'm a firm believer in eliminating waste because if you think about it, in the natural world there is no waste. Anything that's thrown out by one species is taken in by another. My
Yeah.
yard has the richest soil in the neighborhood because I don't throw anything away. I even make my own cooking gas. We call it poop gas.
Okay. Tell me more about this.
It's a process of anaerobic fermentation. You take plant material like grass clippings, branches, whatever, old fruit, and you mix it with waste, animal waste. I get my friends to save their dog and cat poop. I put it into a tank. I even put my own in there too. And then you just close it up and you let it ferment. And then it'll build up some hydrogen sulfide and other things. You vent it a couple times, and I use a big inflatable mattress that sits on top of the tank, and then that starts to fill up with gas. The gas runs through a plastic pipe that runs into my kitchen. And then whenever I want to, I can simply light it up and I get cooking gas. Now it produces gas constantly, so to prevent an explosion, I got an old 1959 gas stove with a pilot light. So I light the pilot light, and then that way, as the gas is being produced, it starts to build up. And then when I use it, you can see that the air mattress goes down, and I try to cook in line with how much gas is produced. So I'm producing methane, which would otherwise go into the atmosphere. They say it's a global warming gas. I don't know. But at least it provides me with fuel that I can cook with.
So you literally have like a tank of shit that's filling up an air mattress with the gas that
Mm-hmm.
you're then using to cook
Yep.
that because that's flammable.
Right.
Does
And
the whole
then
place smell? Like, how do you
no,
keep that under
there's
control?
there's no odor. And the best thing about it is that the fecal bacteria are killed off by the fermentation process, by the anaerobic fermentation. When the process is done, all the bacteria are gone. You're left with dirt. And you can take that dirt and put it right in the garden. So that stuff goes right on my banana trees and mangoes and avocados. So when you're eating my mangoes and avocados and bananas, that started with poop. That was your dog poop and cat poop and whatever else went in there.
And that's like how it goes in nature anyway,
That's how
you
it
know.
goes in nature. But this is better because in nature, you're forming methane, which the forest, you have bacteria that eat that. That global warming thing is nonsense. But instead of venting into the atmosphere, I'm cooking with it. So my kitchen, and it doesn't matter if the power goes out, it works. As long as I got poop and I got plant material, rotten fruit, whatever, I got gas.
Wow. Okay. I feel like I could talk to you for hours. I mean, there's so much going on here.
Well, that's why
Um,
I've had so many interviews. You can see I've done I don't even know how many interviews I've done. I've done a lot.
and speaking of poop, like how do yours look? When
Looks
you're eating no fiber, right? People think you have to have fiber for digestion and all that.
Nope. I go at least once a day. I can go up to 3 times a day if I'm eating a lot of food, but I go once a day, usually around lunchtime or just before lunch.
Uh-huh. And no issues.
Never
Just
had an issue. I've never been constipated in my entire life.
and just solid, making good fertilizer and repeating the cycle.
That's correct. You know, and
That's incredible.
yeah, I don't have problems. Digestion, when I went plant based, I had terrible digestion. When I was a kid, I used to get diarrhea and gas, and I had a lot of issues. But when I went on the heart attack diet, it just went away.
So, if you had to boil down 40 years into one piece of advice for someone who's considering this, what would it be?
Well, you have to understand the system that we live in is all about extraction. And they don't want you to be independent and they don't want you to try different things. They want you to follow the system because it's a proven stream of income for them. Think about it. I call their food duck food. If you're eating their duck food, you're making the big corporations money. And then the medical system and other organizations, they can make more money off of you. They can sell you medicines when you have a cold or if you have a stomach problem. They can sell you antacids. They can sell you just look at a typical TV. It's all medication commercials. When you get fat, they can give you a GLP-1 and charge you a lot of money for that. They can give you appetite suppressants and all this stuff. And the worst part about the system is they make you feel like a failure. If you're not achieving your goals, it's your fault. It's not our fault for telling you what to do. It's your fault because you did it wrong. It's the same thing with these scammers. You have all these internet scammers. Oh, buy my plan. I'm going to make you rich and all this. Send me $50 a month or send me $1,000 for my program. And then when it doesn't work, when it almost never does, they blame themselves. Well, it's your fault because you didn't work hard enough. I think the main thing, if you want to try this lifestyle, you don't have to do it for the rest of your life. You don't have to commit to anything. You could say, hey, I'm going to try to adjust my diet. Maybe I'll get rid of the plant material. Maybe I'll just eat meat. Maybe I'll add some dairy now and then. Whatever you want to do. If it doesn't work for you, you can always go back. But you got to remember when you make any kind of major change, it may take months before your body adapts. If you're an otherwise healthy person, I don't think it's necessary to make a drastic change. You could just try adding more meat, adding more animal based foods to your diet, and cutting out all the empty carbohydrates. That's a good start right there. And that might be all you need. But if it's not working for you, you can go a little further. You could say, well, I'm going to get rid of all the vegetables. So again, it's your choice. It's not something that is not going to take you, it's not going to make a slave out of you. You're not going to have to say, well, I can't eat this because I'm on the diet. You can eat whatever you want. If you want to eat a piece of fruit, if you want to eat some duck food, that's your choice. You could be like these guys over here, but I tell everybody there's a reason why they don't have teeth. Because if you eat duck food, you're going to end up spending a lot of time at the dentist. And again, it's your choice. They tell you what to do, but you don't have to listen. You can choose another path.
It sounds very reasonable. I mean, people would think it's some sort of cult, but you sound very reasonable about it and healthy. And
Well, that's the thing. In order to be a cult, there has to be some kind of leadership structure, which there is none. There's nobody in the carnivore community that would be the leader. This is, like you said, thinking outside the box. There's no, how can I put it? It's not like a religion where you can't question things. You can question everything anytime you want. And there's no one that can go against that. Now, of course, with Big Brother and the government, they try to be the authority. Well, you have to eat so many vegetables and fruits a day. You have to do this, you have to do that. But on this lifestyle, it's freedom. You do what works for you. Let your body tell you if it's working.
It's beautiful. I think that's a good place to end it. Rick, tell everyone where they can find you. I know you're on YouTube.
I'm on YouTube. I'm on several different channels, but my channel is called Charger Mopar, and that comes from my favorite car, 1968 to 1970 Dodge Chargers. I know a lot of the gurus, they like Ferraris and Lamborghinis. To me, that's garbage. Good old Charger with a big block 440 or Hemi, that's what I like to drive around in. And I'm also on other channels like tonight. There's the Russ Mitchell Keto Cookout, which would be at 8:30. I have my live stream Saturday morning, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, every Saturday with a few exceptions if I happen to be out of town.
And I watched your interview with Dr. Anthony Chaffee and Dr. Shawn Baker. Both of those were great. I recommend people go check those out as well.
Mm-hmm. That's great.
Rick, thanks for doing this. This has been an absolute pleasure. And, you know, keep it going, man. Maybe we could do this again sometime.
It's up to you. I'm always available.
All right. Thanks, Rick.
All right. Thanks, Luke.